Okay, we are live in the B.A.K Playground for our latest edition of On the Road to Good, featuring Briana Boyd. Briana is the founder of Insula Collective, an initiative dedicated to providing mental health support and resources for the BIPOC community. I really wanted to talk to you today, Briana, because mental health, as you know, is just continuing to be a bigger and bigger issue in our music industry, and what you're doing and what you offer to our community is so important. And I just want people to know who you are and that you exist and how they can connect with you. So thank you for joining me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this little platform to talk about these kind of things. So, yeah, I'm really excited to talk about sort of this unique intersection of mental health and music. And I feel like I'm in a phase now where I can really reflect on certain things and try to implement some changes through what I do.
Amazing. Can you tell me about your background, your work history, and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, for sure. So I was a very, I guess, precocious teenager. So I went to school in Brooklyn, New York. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. And around the time I was 16 or 17, I really was gung ho about working in the music industry. I just saw Almost Famous for the first time, which would be my favorite movie for many years to come afterwards. But that was the first iteration of, I think I want to do that thing. Like, I wanted to be the boy in that movie, and like the music journalist thing. And at the time, I thought that like writing for alternative press would be like the fucking coolest job ever. And so I started a music blog, and I was just very hungry. Like, I just wanted to start working immediately. So I just started like emailing record labels. At the time, I was obsessed with Fueled by Ramen. So I'm like, Fueled by Ramen, please let me intern for you or whatever. And I feel like this was before what I feel like is like the intern, like we're having our day, like we're nope, no more free labor or whatever. But this is before that. So a lot of the people got back to me and they were like, hey, cute, like, see us in college, all right? Because, it's a little murky there or whatever. But I did find one joint management label called Doghouse Records Working Group. They're now called Hard 8. And that was my first kind of professional thing ever in the music industry. And I was an intern, and then I became a serial intern. I interned there for like 2 years for free, like full time. Like,
What did you get out of the internship? Did you learn a lot?
I feel like that gave me a lot of, I feel like since it was half record label, half management, I really naturally gravitated towards the management aspect of it. And so I feel like that really informed kind of the direction that I took with my career entirely. Like, I was applying for colleges while I was doing that internship and talking about how, wow, these managers who work here are so cool and I can't wait to be a manager and all types of stuff. Yeah, and so I just became kind of a bit of a workhorse and doing a bunch of free labor, VIP manager, wrangling, meet and greets, making packages. I've managed some independent bands. I really went into sort of the Warped Tour scene, if you will, and that kept me really busy for a while. And some of my last jobs were day-to-day manager. I've been an artist relations manager, and I've really learned a lot. I feel like I've done all the paying of the dues, and I've seen some things, and I feel like I'm really grateful for those experiences because it's really informed who I am today.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So after your internship, where did you go?
So, yeah, that's kind of a funny story. So, I was about to graduate college, and I'm reaching out to people that I know, and I haven't spoken to him in a while, but Danny Ruxin, who manages Billie Eilish, he actually worked at the first place that I interned for, and he was very, and I'm very still grateful to this day for him always being very responsive to any questions that I had, any emails or anything like that. So he's actually the person that put me in touch with what would be my first job out of college, working for Synergy Artist Management. That's now Alternate Side. So I worked for a manager who worked with bands like Citizen, Real Friends, and at the time that was really, really cool for me. And I learned a lot. And that was kind of my first foray into, I'm working a big job where I have expectations, and I learned a lot about navigating different personalities for sure.
What was a hard lesson you had to learn there when it comes to navigating personalities? Because I think that is a big issue, particularly for young professionals. Or actually, I think all, professionals, particularly in music, like our industry is full of personalities. That's one of the reasons that I vet pretty greatly for the playground professionals is, have you had experience working in music? And you can be the best graphic designer, you can be really good at brand marketing, but if you don't have the experience of working in music, you don't know how to navigate personalities in music, right? It sets us apart from any other industry is the people and the culture. So what was your experience navigating personalities and people, and did that affect your work now in mental health?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, not just even that first job, but throughout my career, I'm at a point now where I'm just now sort of realizing that I have a lot of soft skills that are very helpful in terms of the music industry, and actually very helpful in terms of mental health. And I feel like it's a special kind of gift, like being able to read a room, knowing how to sort of proactively meet people's needs. In particular, the job that I worked that was the hardest, but to this day I learned the most from, was working at WME, working at a booking agency. Okay, like
Yeah,
you can do that.
right,
You can do that.
right.
There's a reason why assistants versus agents went up the way it did. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a whole culture of I respectfully called it like hazing a little bit, but
Yeah, that's true.
You learn to deal with different personalities, and but I found that the music industry across the board has a lot of different personalities and a lot of neuroses, I guess. And so I feel like WME is where I first kind of learned how to fit into where I need to in a way that gets the job done, but also kind of protects myself. Because something that I've said, and I've heard a lot of other people who work in entertainment talk about, is like having your receipts. Having your receipts. What's the email? What's the Carfax or whatever? And WME is where I really honed the receipts of it all. And also, for example, there was a LA agent who worked with the agent that I worked for, and he was very like, "Oh, everything's an emergency. Did you get me the deposit? Or whatever." And so he was a struggle for a lot of the assistants, right? But it's because he felt like, I'm not in control of this, and whatever. But he wanted to be able to call you up and be like, "Where are all of my shows right now?" All right. So I just made it easy for myself. I had a little index card right by my desk. And so when he called me up, I knew, oh, yep, we again, that, yep, yep. And I was able to breeze through, you know what I'm saying? I didn't, you know, there's other assistants who, there was one assistant, for example, who that same agent, he was like, no, you have to do this. And then the assistant stayed until like midnight at the office. And it's just like, no, no, you
Yeah,
know?
I was that assistant when I worked at Universal. I would be at the office until 9, 10, 1 in the morning. Like the security guards at nighttime knew who I was because I was there I was supporting a global team. And that really wears on your mental health, like a lot. And how do you say no to your boss? I think the concept of like you're lucky to have a job in music, especially at a label or WME and these big companies, forces you to really extend way beyond your personal boundaries and like really get into an unhealthy space. Um, how like how did you learn how to keep your boundaries if you did, or eventually learn how to keep your boundaries?
I mean, I feel like honestly, I had to fall on my ass,
Mm.
and I had to fall on my ass more than once. I had to really like get burnt out, like
Yeah.
real down bad, not once but twice. And I had to go through two experiences where I wasn't able to get back on the Zoom like the way that I was used to. And that was the first time that I wasn't able to sort of like white knuckle through it. And so I was kind of forced to stop. And that experience really informed what's important to me. And it was a very painful experience, but I also got a lot of freedom. And something that I'm really passionate about is there's kind of this culture where I felt like when I was still like employed full time by the music industry that I was stuck and I wasn't free to express myself online, in the office, or all these different things. And in kind of being in where I'm at now, where I would love to still be in the music industry and I'd love to still utilize, you know, this 13 plus years of very niche like experience. But you know, now I feel freedom to be basically be who I want to be. But I had to get out of it in order to, I feel like, kind of experience it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience where, and I'm kind of grateful for COVID. I don't know if that's like the best thing to say, but the opportunity to be home, and to kind of look at myself, like you can't escape yourself, right? During COVID, in those early days, like you're forced to deal with, you know, your lack of boundaries and all of the things that were causing so much mental health issues. Like I had a whole breakdown and I had you know, this was my first time getting a therapist and like
Mm-hmm.
really learning how to say, no, this isn't good for me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but if I didn't have that experience of COVID, I'm not sure if I would still be at Universal. I'm not sure if I would still be through the label system, putting myself through hell pretty
Mm-hmm.
much every day. So, shout out to boundaries.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's very important, and you know, I feel like it's hard across the board right now. The music industry is obviously kind of going through a bit of a ebbing and flowing, which it seems to do every couple of years in a very dramatic way. And right now we're in a flow of there's a lot of anxieties. You know what I'm saying? Like I had a 17-year-old girl that's still in high school that the amount of pressure that she was putting on herself to have it all figured out at that before she's even in college is crazy. And I feel that the music industry like really perpetuates a lot of that, and some of it isn't malicious even. I feel like some of the people who perpetuate a lot of that toxic dynamics are also the same people who are like, I want a new music industry. And I think that part of it might be, obviously, we're in the industry where it's about paying your dues and you're lucky to be. And so when you complain, like, there's no place for that. There's really no place to vent or talk about these different things, because I genuinely felt like, definitely in terms of mental health, but even just like social causes, I felt that I needed to be very careful about expressing myself, because there might be a consequence. And so I feel that I'm not the only person that is placed in that kind of dynamic. There's a lot of powers at play, and that's why I really appreciate Big.Ass.Kids, because I would like to see more people have the freedom to do their own thing, so that they can really be themselves and express themselves, especially if they happen to be also a person of color as well, because there's not little tough sometimes.
Yeah, I really love seeing people become free, right? When they break out of the label or, company system, and they realize their own power and capability. That's one of my favorite parts of the playground, and having to work and meet and communicate with so many different professionals. Seeing that transition from being kind of caged up and working for someone, and the demands of the hours, and always being on, or you have, like you said with the agent, like, you have to know things off the top of your head, and your mind can't be free to think your own thoughts, because you have to take up so much mental space for someone else and their work, right? But when you work for yourself and you set your own boundaries, and you realize what you're really good at, and people are attracted to what you're really good at, and they're like, oh, you do this in this way in your own unique special sauce, like, I want that. And it's empowering, and seeing people blossom into themselves is so beautiful. It's the reason I keep going, to give people this freedom. So I really appreciate the work that you do to help people get there. And can you tell us about Insula Collective and how it started, and what your mission is?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a certified peer support specialist. So peer meaning, I have lived experience with mental health recovery, or fighting for my life with my mental health in my head. And I've gone through some training and exam in order to be able to facilitate having conversations with people around mental health and providing resources. And something that really appealed to me about being a peer support specialist is it is a very unique perspective to be able to enter a room with somebody in a mental health kind of capacity and be like, I'm leading this. Like, I guess I'm the professional in this way, but I'm having a bad day too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going through it right now. Like, therapists don't really have that. I mean, I shouldn't say that they don't have that luxury, but this is America, so you're running that person a lot of money, so you might not want to hear about the argument that they had this
Capitalism,
morning,
right?
And so I feel like I'm able to connect with people in a way that is very unique and very powerful, and so I decided to basically try to go independent and start my own, I guess, company where I provide support groups for BIPOC individuals in Los Angeles and online. And that's really been an amazing experience. I already knew how desperately more of that is needed. And it's been really beautiful to be able to not just talk about the things that I care about, but actually action on it. Because that's something that honestly kind of frustrated me, especially towards the tail end of my time in the music industry. I was frustrated at the lack of what are we doing about it. What I mean? And so it feels good to actually be sitting with real people of different backgrounds who are struggling, are willing to be vulnerable, and we have really amazing conversations. And I've been doing that for a couple of months now, and it's very fulfilling. And I feel like I've gained more confidence in myself because I've been able to see that I have a disposition that is very inclined to this kind of work. Um, because at the same time, we're having a lot of amazing conversations, but I feel like in the wrong hands, or not like it's a sinister guy in the wrong hands, but like if I feel that if somebody's coming to you talking about things like suicidal ideation, substance abuse, trauma, and stuff like that, you have to be very careful about not making that person feel very dismissed. And I'm able to truly go out of my way to make sure that that person does not feel dismissed in that moment, and that comes directly from me constantly feeling dismissed throughout my life, and also professionally as well. So,
and that's a feeling that I hear often. That what's the word I'm looking for? That people who are going through these interviews, right, that can't find a job, that are applying and applying, or going through 3-4 rounds of interviews and not getting the job, or starting to feel dismissed or not good enough, or like I don't matter. And I hear that once a week at minimum with the freelancers that I've met or I talk to, and I think it's so beautiful what you're doing, that you're providing a safe space for people to feel seen, to be seen, to feel heard, to connect with another human being that understands what they're saying in a vulnerable way, that you put your vulnerability out there for people to connect with. You don't see that often in human beings in music, and I think you're a really special person for doing that. So on behalf of the people who need your services, who need your energy, who need your light, thank you for being in that space.
thank you so much. That's so kind. I mean, yeah, I feel like something that would happen throughout my entire time in the music industry is, I feel that in my experience in music, that it is segregated. Yes, yes, Brent Fayez might do a track with Marshmello or whatever, but for the most part, those managers are not intermingling with these ones, and we're all in the same spot, and we're all hanging out in Inglewood. It doesn't really work like that. You know what I'm saying? So I chose to go into the rock music world, which, now luckily we've gone far enough where it's not the white music. But yeah, at the time it was very much like girl or whatever. So not only like being the only black person, but the only person of color anywhere around or whatever. And so when I would try to talk to my peers about, I've done 5-6 interviews, like, God, you know what I'm saying? And I'd be like, sometimes I wonder, like, is it because I wore the box braids, or what is it? Like, and to their they only know they're from their own fields of experience, right? And people feel icky about certain things, especially if you can't really understand whatever. So the natural response to that I would get is, oh no, no.
Yeah, for sure. I've never gotten a job if I went to the interview with my hair curly, ever. Never. Like I've worked since I was 13 years old. It doesn't matter if I was a teenager or I was an adult. If I showed up to that interview with my hair curly, I never got the job. And I think that's so small compared to other people's experiences, but it resonates with me what you're saying. It's like, and the fact that you are available to share these experiences with people that are going through a mental health crisis. Just knowing that you're there and can talk to it and hear them and aren't going to dismiss what they're saying is incredible. So we only have a few minutes left, but is there anything that you want to leave people with that are going to see this episode? Mental health tips or things that you talk to people all the time. I'm sure there's recurring themes in your conversations. Can you give bits of advice for people that are going through a crisis right now in music?
For sure. I would say that overall, in the course of my time in the music industry, first, I really value someone named Beyond Van Zandt, who's like a very spiritual Oprah. That's my auntie or whatever. And something that she talks about a lot is basically just letting go. I feel like where the music industry is built on this dynamic of paying your dues, or whatever. And Iyanla just says, let your heart break. Like, it's weird because we talk about traumas with our breakups and our personal lives or whatever. People get their heart broken in their career. You know what I'm saying? And it might be impactful for you to just validate that experience in yourself, because I find that a lot of people are suffering their paycheck to paycheck. They're working this job that's contributing to their poor mental health, but they need to put themselves back up in there because they need to pay their rent because they live in Los Angeles or New York or wherever it may be. And so I would say, like fostering a sense of softness with yourself, because you can get very, very jaded. And I feel that young people are in a time where it's basically like, I tell you what to do, I tell you what to do, I tell you what to do, and then you turn 18 and you tell me what to do and how to do it or whatever. And it's like, so we're just kind of like fumbling around or whatever. And it's just like, it's okay to just go where it takes you. You know what I'm saying? Yes, take the people out to coffee, go to the mixers, go to this, go to that. But I would try not to have an expectation of this is going to lead to my big break, and I'm going to get to Rock Nation, and they're going to hire me or whatever. No, do it because you want to do it, and if that happens, so be it. But I feel like that can be very hard for a lot of people in the music industry, or at least that was my experience. It's just like, oh my God, like, when do I get like that thing? Like, I've been paying my dues for a while. Can I get a little,
right,
a little something? So I would just say, validating yourself. It truly is true what they say about like you meet your own needs.
Forge your own path.
Yeah.
I think where we are as an industry is allowing people to forge their own paths. As music professionals, as music artists, there's no right way to do something right now.
Yeah.
Right? One person can do something one way and it works, and another person does it entirely different and that works too. Or it doesn't work at all, but keep trying, keep being creative in your endeavors, and knowing that people like you exist to be a sounding board and check in is really helpful too when someone's on their own journey. So again, thank you for being available for our industry. How can people connect with you?
Thank you. So my website is insulacollective.com. You can follow Insula Collective on Instagram. And I am at Dusty Free Bree, DUSTIE Free Bree. Shout out to Maya Zidane, a rapper in New York.
I love that. And we'll drop all of that too in the caption when we post this. So thank you for sharing your time and energy with me. I appreciate it, Briana.
Of course. I love the combo. Thank you so much.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.